Hello friends, welcome back to the bench. Our patient is an 86A, which misfires. Nothing special. IC608 resoldering. And it looks like it's broken. The case is broken. Yeah, well, what are you gonna do? It's not essential. Actually, I'm just gonna replace it, I guess. It's not a big deal. And no prior repair attempt. That's what we like. So it's gonna be easy peasy. And the subject of our little discussion is going to be tariffs. But no worries, it's not political. Tariffs are what the tariffs are, or the decision is what the decision is, and there is no point in discussing whether the tariffs are good or are bad, because, in all honesty, nothing is, universally good or universally bad. It might be good for you, bad for me. It might be good for me, bad for you. And more often than not, it's just bad for the majority of us and just good for some elites, very few among us. So, besides, it's hard to just universally say whether something is a good idea or a bad idea, because implementation of it is more important. How the tariffs are going to be implemented, and we don't know that yet, right? There's no clear plan or decisions made yet. The new administration hasn't taken over yet, so we'll see next year how it's exactly going to work. And last time tariffs were implemented, I was not. I was in the United States by the last year of previous administration, but I wasn't really ordering anything from foreign countries. I didn't have the repair shop, so it didn't really impact my life in any way, and I don't remember how exactly. I remember that a lot of people were complaining about the actual implementation, like the rules weren't clear, right? And that is the issue of the implementation. So that's the only thing that it might impact. Actually, it will impact my business in either way, whether it's going to be well implemented or not. It will impact my business and it will impact our everyday lives, and we'll talk about it. But in the country I come from, which is Poland, it does have an import tax, right? Well, I don't know about now, but back in the day, when I lived there, we did have import tax. And what I used to do was buy some cheap Chinese stuff on eBay and resell it in Poland using the Polish equivalent of eBay, right? So the way it works, so yeah, we call it the import tax, not tariff, but it's basically that's what the tariff is. It's an import tax. And the way it would work, you buy something off of eBay and its location of an item is in China. You pay the supplier, you pay the person that sells it, and the item is shipped to you, right? The item arrives to the destination country and it is held in customs. Then a few days later, maybe a few weeks later, it all depends, you get a letter, and depending on an item, it could be like a big stack of papers, and there's a bill, and you need to pay the bill, the import tax, if you want the item to be released from customs so it can be delivered to you. Uh, so typically, you don't really know what the final cost of an item will be until it arrives. That's pretty much the main issue of this whole thing. It just when your business is in importing, and that's what you do, then obviously you don't know what the final price of the product that you're selling is going to be until it actually arrives to the country and you get the bill. That's when you can actually calculate the cost and start selling the item. At the moment, you can, you know what the price is going to be, basically, right? It's $100 plus shipping. Shipping is $20, so $120 plus tax. So say $135 total. That's what you pay, and you just wait for the item. So even before it gets to you, you can already list it on eBay or wherever you're selling it, right? Say you buy it from AliExpress and you resell it on eBay. A lot of people do that. It's a good business, I hear. I'm not sure, but I hear it's a good business. Probably depends on an item you sell. Now, since that's not going to be transparent, because you're gonna have to wait until the item arrives, this is especially going to hit drop shippers, which personally I don't mind. And the reason I don't mind is that I wouldn't mind drop shippers if it was transparently said on the listing that the person is a drop shipper. Because often when I buy something, I consider where it's coming from, right? I have an option of buying an item from two different sellers, and one is in Georgia, the other one is in California. I'm gonna go with the one in Georgia because the item is gonna be shipped or is gonna be delivered faster, and the shipping is gonna be cheaper, right? Makes perfect sense. But with drop shippers, and I've had that issue many times, I order something because it's in the same town as I am, and I expect it to be delivered quickly, just to find out that, or I want to pick it up myself, right? So I write the person that, hey, we're in the same town, can I just pick it up? But there's no answer, no one on the other line, and 5 days later I get the package from Amazon, right? I didn't know it was a drop shipper, right? If I did, then I probably would have, I don't know, the price is pretty much the same. I'm not sure how much money they actually make on those drop shipping, but as far as I know, it's like almost fully automated, right? They don't even have to do anything. As soon as you put the order in on eBay, the order is put automatically to Amazon with your address and everything, and the item is delivered. So you don't have any overhead. You don't have to do anything pretty much. So it's it's pretty sweet deal. It definitely, if the volume is sufficient, you can make a lot of money with almost no effort. Now the problems of course start when because you still sold it, right? So you're kind of responsible for it. So if there are any issues with an item itself, then you take blame for it and you have to resolve it. So it's not all. I'm sure it's not all success. There are definitely some issues here and there, like in every business. But for the most part, it seems like pretty easy money, right? But now it's going to be a little harder. As again, I don't mind, because to me that's that's not transparent. That would have been perfectly fine if there was a special flag on each item sold marked as dropshipped product. All right, so expect that there's going to be pretty much no communication with the seller, and the item location is not where the item location is stated on the listing. I'm not saying that shouldn't be allowed, as long as you're transparent about it. So when the tariffs hit, the way it will work, most likely, because we don't know, but if it works the same way as it does in Poland, then the item just going to be seized on the border in customs, and for it to be released you need to pay the tariff. But now the interesting aspect of it is how much do you pay? Because here's a difference between how it works in Poland and how it works in the United States when it comes to, say, selling a car and buying a car. In US, when you buy a car from your friend, then you pay the tax on whatever you paid for that car, right? If you bought it for $1,000, you pay tax out of $1,000. In Poland, it doesn't matter what you paid for the car, you pay the tax on a blue book value of the car, right? So you may have bought it in poor condition for $1,000, but the car is technically worth $5,000 going by the blue book, so you pay tax out of $5,000. That's not how it works in US, so hopefully that's not how tariffs are gonna work. But the import tax in Poland works exactly the same. When the smartphones became a thing first, right, when they were first introduced, obviously I couldn't afford a real smartphone, being a poor Polish engineer, but I could afford a knockoff version from China, right? I don't remember, it was maybe like $50, right? So I paid $50 to the seller, and then it's seized in customs. And since it's a smartphone, the value of the item is listed on the box, right? This is technically what I paid. But since it's an iPhone, or the smartphone, I pay 30% tariff or import tax, but 30% of the market value of a smartphone. So I paid $50 for the phone, and then $80 in import tax, which doesn't make sense if you think about it, that it's supposed to be 30%, right? But yeah, it is 30% of an iPhone, of the value of an iPhone. So let's hope that's not how it's gonna work in US with the tariffs, but it is a possibility. It's a complex subject, after all. So these are some things that we need to be aware of. or perhaps prepare for. And unfortunately, a lot of companies are now prepping for it. That's why when the tariffs do hit, it's not going to be immediate repercussions, because a lot of companies will still have a lot of inventory that they're collecting right now. They're kind of stacking up, right? So there's going to be this period where everything is going to be kind of in a weird spot. Which is normal. But as far as our everyday lives, and I want to consider it as a repair shop owner, I think tariffs are not going to be too bad for us, the repair shops. And the reason is that, well, stuff is going to become more expensive, right? The tools, the devices, a lot of stuff is going to become either slightly or significantly more expensive. That's always good for the repair business, because if your device is expensive, you're more inclined to repair it rather than replace it. All right, so that should be good for the repair business. Whether that's what's going to happen, we don't know. We'll see. But in theory, at least, it should be good for the repair businesses. The importing of goods is going to become slightly more difficult because of the import tax or tariff, right? So it's not going to be as easy as it is right now, that you just go to eBay or to AliExpress and just order an item, and 2 weeks later it's on your porch. So more established businesses that already do a lot of importing and stuff are gonna have a slight edge, an upper hand on the whole procedure, which, especially if you're kind of a retailer, right? You just do importing and you sell. That might be good for you. Now the only unfortunate reality for all of us, especially all of us that go to Home Depot or buy equipment, and say you own a house, right? You need to buy some tools like lawnmower, chainsaw, that kind of stuff. All of that is produced in overseas. If there is a tariff, aka import tax, all of that is going to be more expensive, right? And the whole idea of a tariff is to make domestic goods more appealing, or allow domestic producers, domestic manufacturers to compete with cheaper overseas produced equipment or whatever they're manufacturing, right? Whatever they're producing. But in many cases, there is no company in the United States that you can fall back to. You can maybe instead of getting it from China, you can get it from some other country. That is perhaps an option, but it's not an option to buy it domestically. It just isn't produced domestically. And I know what you're thinking. That's good, right? Because that's gonna be an incentive for local domestic companies to start producing that particular good. Because now it makes sense, right? Because it's too expensive, or it's just as expensive to get it from overseas, and it's better to get it from domestic supplier. And maybe in some cases that will happen, and definitely in case of some simple things that might happen. But for more advanced stuff, the requirements for the infrastructure to actually produce stuff like that requires decades in some cases to actually set it up. So it's kind of an investment that will start generating money, maybe 15 years after you made the initial investment, and you had to pump money into it for 15 years, and now after 15 years you start making money back from it, and it's going to take another 15 years to break even, right? So kind of a 30-year investment. That's not something that people are going to want to do. If I did that now, then I'll be 70, 50, I'll be 70 to break even. So so I wouldn't be inclined to actually try anything like that. So the bottom line, or for the most goods that we're importing now, we'll still have to import it, and we're gonna have to pay higher prices for it. Again, maybe that's good for the repair business, but not for the end consumer. Now, this chip that we're soldering right now, right? Obviously it comes from China, right? That's where I get those. And at the moment, the chip is costing me, well, this particular one, I don't remember, because it's been a while since I ordered these, but around maybe $10. So this one's not very expensive. But the injector driver, which is well, not on this one, but it's similar case to this one. It's a big chip like this. And this one costs me about $35, $40 maybe, depending where I get it from. So now, when tariffs hit, I need to add, well, to be safe, I'll just add 100%. So I used to charge whatever I charge for the procedure, and plus $40 for the chip. Now it's going to be plus $80 for the chip, just to be on the safe side, because I'm not sure how much I'm going to pay to customs. But now, the more important part is that business is business, and businesses are kind of driven by profits, and any opportunity to jack up the price should be taken. Every company is gonna take that opportunity to jack up the price. You can see what's going on in the grocery stores, right? They keep jacking up the prices, not because it's more expensive, not because they have to, not because they don't have money, because they can. It's a strategy to make more money. That's what those big executives are being paid for, to come up with ideas where how can we make more money? How can we get the profit even higher? They don't care whether you can afford to buy bread or not. It's business, right? So a lot of companies now are gonna use that because, as they say, you don't let the good, what do you call it, the good crisis go to waste, or good tragedy go to waste, or something like that. So it's a perfect opportunity for greedy companies to jack up the prices, and that's what they're gonna do. And not even greedy companies, just any companies, even small businesses, right? I'm not gonna do it because I believe it's bad karma, personally. But even small businesses like mine, they're definitely gonna take advantage of that. I wish the price didn't have to go up, but my prices will have to go up. And again, since I don't know how much, I'm gonna have to stay on the safe side, because as much as I want to be helpful to the community and provide good and cheap services or affordable services, I can't afford to lose money on it, right? It's fine if I don't make money, but I can't afford to lose money. So at the moment, maybe I don't really make much money on this business, but I don't put any more money in, right? The business pays for itself, for equipment, for solder, for parts, and sometimes I get to buy some more expensive equipment, some equipment that I wouldn't have bought otherwise, right? Before I opened an LLC, when I was doing this, I would use the cheapest tools available, and just kind of make it work, because that money from the repair shop was going to my personal checking account. Now, since I'm officially an LLC, that budget is separate, right? So I don't see that money. That money never makes it to my personal budget. It makes to the company budget. So then, if there's money left after a month, I buy in equipment. And that's why we have now the BGA rework station that normally I wouldn't be able to afford. Now it's kind of, I don't know, it's kind of like free equipment, because it's the money that I would have to pay tax on, so it wouldn't be my money anyways, right? So instead, I at least have an equipment, and if I go bankrupt, then that equipment is collateral to whoever I owe money to, right? And it's going to be auctioned off. Should that be the case. So technically it's not mine, it belongs to the company that I own. So, as I said, as much as I don't want to raise my prices, I have to, but at least I'm not going to raise the prices unnecessarily, right? It's only the price that actually went up. So if you paid typically $150 to $200 for ECM repair in my shop, now it's going to be roughly $200 to $300, maybe $250 to $300 or $200 to $250, but there's going to be some price increase, unfortunately. Now, is that going to be good? Again, Is that going to be good for whom? Who is that going to be good for? Well, maybe it will stimulate the economy a little, right? Maybe the better times are coming, the easier times. Who knows? Maybe it will cause more people to start domestic businesses, manufacturing businesses, right? Maybe we're gonna have cheaper goods, but the primary reason why goods imported from other countries are cheaper is because of labor cost, right? Even if we move manufacturing of anything to United States, it's not going to be cheaper because our labor is expensive compared to other countries. You're not going to work for $2 an hour, are you? That's why what we produce in the United States is technology, intellectual property. Yeah. That's what I do every day. I work on software, right? And I produce intellectual property, because if I had to produce the bolts or lawnmowers or anything like that, or shovels, those shovels would have to be very expensive, because you have to pay me fair wage, right? So say maybe $20 an hour. You have to give me a health insurance, 401k or what have you. Right? You have to give me a lot of stuff for me to be able to work. Alright, for some reason my throat became very scratchy. It's probably because I've been talking too much about tariffs. But it's if you're really afraid of what's gonna happen, don't be. It's there's only one one term of this administration, right? So how much can you mess up in 4 years? On the other hand, if you're really optimistic that this administration is gonna fix everything, for the same reason, how much can you fix in 4 years? Maybe tariffs will be awesome for the business. Maybe the businesses are gonna start booming because of that. Maybe some different suppliers are gonna be found. Maybe that's gonna create more jobs. Who knows? But I don't know. But what I do know is that it's not gonna be that bad. We'll survive. Besides, how much worse can it get? It's been, the economy's been kind of, well, economy. Maybe not. Let's not call it economy, because yeah, the current administration keeps convincing us that the economy is good, and they have numbers to back it up. So yeah, it's hard to argue with the numbers. But the microeconomy, our everyday life economy, how easy it is to find a job, good paying job. How expensive are the groceries? Can you afford to buy a house? Can you afford to rent a decent apartment? Can you afford to fill up your car? Actually, gas prices are pretty low now. Some people are complaining about gas prices, but right now they dropped. I fill up my car for like $2.70 a gallon, $2.80, up to $3, and I think the national average is $3. So I'm sure there are places where gas is $5, but at least national average is not too bad. And actually, it depends on the particular area. I'm north of Atlanta, so I fill up for $2.70. But when I go midtown and I see the prices on the gas stations in the center, they're $3.50, $3.70. So there's like $1 difference if you just travel 20, 30 miles outside the town. So if you go by these prices downtown, then yeah, the gas is pricey. But job market is a disaster, absolute disaster, and I don't know where those numbers come from. Well, when they say that 250,000 jobs were added, I don't know where that comes from, because I can't imagine that 250,000 jobs were added in a month where I didn't get it. When I was looking for a job, I didn't get a single phone call. So either they were not added in my sector, and I'm like really unlucky, or the 245,000 ghost jobs were posted, and 5,000 actual jobs were added. Could be those numbers. It's not like there is a central place where those numbers are generated, and the government has an ability to lie to you. It's a chain. Different states, different governors, different institutions just report on those numbers, and those numbers are collected and aggregated and then reported as a national average. So, I'm not saying the government is lying to us, but those numbers don't seem to represent what actually is going on. And I can attest to that. Before I was skeptical, because I'm always skeptical. That's kind of my trait. I don't take anything at face value. But now, I can attest to it myself. And the job market is a disaster. The only reason I have a job, and the only reason I found a job, is because I'm in Atlanta. Big area, a lot of companies, but if you had a remote job and you live in some rural area because you moved over there because the houses are cheaper there, and you had a remote job, you lost the remote job, and now you have to move back to the city, sell the house and move back to the city to get a job. That's what it used to be back in the day. So, don't get me wrong, we got kind of spoiled in those past few years. That's definitely what it used to be, but I don't know. Still, it feels like just a few years ago. Obviously, the job market was different. Just 3 years ago, it was much better, and I don't blame it on any particular administration, or the president has very limited power. It's not like everything that's bad is because of the president and everything that's good is thanks to the president. No, there's many factors that contribute to that. But just a few years ago, things were not bad, and yeah, I personally got spoiled by that. And then I got laid off, and the life hit me like a ton of bricks. So now I changed my approach and my opinion on what the situation is because of that. Now I see the errors of my ways in the past. Well, that's what life is. You just keep learning, right? Alrighty, guys, I think this will do. I'll seal it in a moment, but I have to take a break. Well, let's hope the implementation of the tariffs is not going to be bad, meaning that it's going to be a smooth process. So the prices will only go up by a little bit, and we'll see. Maybe some good stuff will happen because of that. Let's hope. Why not? Why not? It can't get much worse than it is right now, I think. So I think that's gonna be good. Let's hope for the best and prepare for the worst. In any case, thank you guys very much for watching. I do appreciate you, and I shall see you in the next one.